It's one of those things that it's tough to answer when you ask an artist why they decide to be an artist. There's this inner beast of creativity that, for me personally, it will consume me to the point of being miserable if I don't let it out and do something with it. I've always wanted to work in Hollywood ever since I was a little kid, you know, enamored with animated films and movies, and always wanted to work in that industry.
Ryan really has this deep, rich background. He started off in special effects at Warner Brothers doing hand-drawn animation. So he was animating like explosions on Osmosis Jones. He was animating like body fluids and other crazy things that happened. And then on the side was doing lots of different things. Eventually kind of moved his way more over into storyboarding, specifically storyboarding for live action films.
I really enjoyed working on some of those films, and I felt like I was doing okay, and I had a good network of people, and probably could have had a sustainable career for many years, but that little itch to do something unique, something different, and you know, kept biting at me, and it's kind of the reason why I left. The dream to be an animator landed me in Southern California. The dream to be an educator landed me in Utah. Now, I didn't think I'd be a university teacher until I was like 50 years old. But when the opportunity presented itself, I couldn't resist.
He loves students, he loves to mentor them, loves to work with them, and you'll see his handprints all over everything that they've done. They all try to emulate him. But then he also is then going off and doing his own projects.
I had just finished working on storyboards and animatics for Cowboys and Aliens, and oh, what an awesome project. So much fun to work on, so much fun to draw. When it was over, I was ready to do something different. I was on the plane coming home from LA, flying back to Utah, and I was just down, just really kind of down because I felt really overworked. I felt like I was spending a lot of time in LA, and I was spending a lot of time away from the family because I was trying to satisfy a production beast that wanted to rule my life. And I felt so overwhelmed. I remember sitting on the plane and flying home, and I'm just listening to my iPod, and that song from the Weepies came on, that song called The World Spins Madly On. And I remember just connecting to those lyrics, about how the world is just madly spinning, and how certain thoughts help kind of root us in a world that just spins, like thoughts of our loved ones, of people that we miss and people that we love. Kind of brings us back to kind of a solid base, so we're not spinning with that world. And at the time, I just started thinking about how much I missed not only my wife, but I missed my kids. I just missed being home. What is it? And that's when I thought, I've got to do something with that. I've got to make a short film that relates to that emotion. And I wanted to do it with dance because my kids were so into dance, and I myself love watching contemporary dance. And my wife used to be a dancer, and so all these ideas started really coming to me, and it all really came on that plane ride when I was experiencing that charge. And that's when, as an artist, you have to do something with it.
I've always loved his gesture drawing. The quality of the gesture work he does and the style he's developed, I really like. When he told me what he was trying to do and that he was going to try to animate these gestures, I thought he was insane, because I thought it was going to be really hard to get that look.
I knew that I could not animate a beautiful contemporary dance because I'm not a dance choreographer. And that's where Corey came in.
I love it when the arts can integrate like that and find ways to connect. And I went, oh, that sounds interesting. Okay.
You can feel, I kind of want to leave a little bit of a mystery in the viewer's experience.
Ryan gave me the backstory to the piece and what motivated it and how he wanted it to really be honestly a love story.
I didn't want to influence the initial choreography at all. Corey would choreograph, but she would choreograph with the dancers, so the dancers would sometimes say, you know, what about this or what about that? And so they were also creatively invested as well.
The dancers contribute so much.
Up, so Aaron, up right there.
That's what I love about contemporary and modern dance also, is that as a choreographer, it's not just me saying, do this on this count at this time, but that the dancers can add in their character.
As I watched the rehearsals and as I watched the dances, I tried to envision in my mind everything that I wanted to do as far as animation goes, and all these ideas kept coming to me as they were dancing. And in fact, a lot of the modifications that we made were just like kind of on the fly because of ideas that were coming. I knew I had a big task in front of me, 2.5 minutes worth of animation, 24 frames per second. That's a lot of drawings. But it's not something that's work. You know, when I look at the clock and I see that I've got a couple extra hours to come work on this, it's really enjoyable. This part I just did yesterday, I decided I liked the wings, but felt like they were lacking something, so I added all these kind of feathers breaking off. And I thought that kind of added a nice little mystical feel to it. I love traditional animation. I love hand-drawn animation. There's a life to it. And it's not a mathematical algorithm that computed that. It had mistakes to it. And I like that. But you can see all these little dots. They're all drawings, different drawings. And if I scrub along, you can see there's 4,127 frames where the characters are moving. And there's quite a few layers, so yeah, we're looking at 20,000 plus different drawings. The reason why they're all colorful like that is it just helps me distinguish the different layers. And so if it was all the same color, it would be really hard for me to distinguish. That's how I can tell where I want to put the lines, as I look at the before and after, and then I flip through it. Kind of like animating the old-fashioned ways, you know, where you had your papers in between your fingers like that, and you flipped it, so you would draw, and then you'd flip your papers, and you could actually watch the movement while you were flipping it. This is the same process, just kind of flip through the different frames.
Ryan's film is very silhouette driven. It's very much about the figure, but it's from a distance, which is interesting because quite often in animation or film, if we want to show an emotion we go in tight, we go in close on an expression.
I didn't want to do any of that. I didn't want to move the camera around, right? And I didn't want to introduce a close-up and then a distant shot and use cinematic techniques to trigger emotions. I wanted it to be genuine, so that in its simplistic nature, two people dancing, no facial expressions, no dialogue, hand-drawn, and putting in a lot of symbolism which has meaning to me, but I wanted to put it in a way that it can also have meaning to the individual. So when they watch it, they could say, wow, that person, that's my ex-boyfriend, or that's my ex-girlfriend, or that's my spouse for 50 years, or that's the individual I'm having a long distance relationship with, and then let people feel what they want to feel.
Obviously, I'm thrilled with his piece, but what more than just animated gestures I thought was so great was how he incorporated things that are part of his professional career throughout, whether it's the design elements or even the effects animation that he's added into the film. And I love the way he varies timing. Things go from slow to fast. Stuff is lightweight and then it has weight. There's a real sort of ebb and flow to it, which connects to his thematic elements in the film. It's a fresh take on using animation in an artistic way, not a commercial way, but in a way to express, internal struggles, ideas, beliefs, deeper themes. Ryan's going in that direction, so it's interesting to see kind of how he's finding his way.
Working in the industry, I couldn't get away with this. You could not decide to, add in all kinds of interpretable information to Spider-Man, right? He's Spider-Man. Doing a film like this is super exciting for me personally because it's such a deviation. I hope that people that watch it do have some sort of a moving experience. I hope it does make them think a little bit about the current relationship that they're in. And then whatever comes of that, comes of that. And to be honest with you, I'm hoping that I do a lot more projects like this.